Alright, it's time to reach the Starship Phoenix, as Sasha asked us. There it is.
Look at that, Clank. This ship is amazing.
Welcome aboard the Phoenix, gentlemen.
Whoa.
Impressive, isn't she? The Phoenix is the
Okay,
pride
I
of
get
the
the feeling
galactic
somebody
fleet.
was inspired by
She's
Treasure
equipped with the
Planet with
latest
Sasha.
technology. Holodeck training suites, auto vendors for armor and weapons, virtual firing range, starfighter upgrade system, even a
Sounds like a world map hub if ever I've heard one in a video game.
VG-9000.
Of course.
Wait until you
With a
see the
Mammoth
joke
Fireball Pro
about the
controller,
VG-9000
VR headset,
for the
and a
release.
zero-G
It's
dance
kind of a
pad
thing that it's more
attached.
hilarious than inside than anything.
Will you marry me?
Okay, Ratchet,
Well,
you are
you've
terrible
Whoa.
with the pickup lines, but
Why don't
Getting
you stop
ahead
by
of the
your quarters?
shippers, eh?
We prepared a custom living area for Qwark, so he won't get in your way. Come meet me on the bridge when you're ready.
and apparently they hastily constructed a cage to put Qwark in it for the time being, as you're about to see.
And then Ratchet.
Oh, it's so satisfying.
Yeah.
And well, how about this, Tubbs? And then she gets angry and everything since you're like, and Ratchet's like, hey, it was just a question. You can say no if you want.
But yes, it's Steel Showcase. You can take out as much frustrations you've had with Qwark from the previous two games out on him even now.
Again, the Phoenix is quite big as a hub, as you can see. And Sasha was not joking about the size and the content that you do have. For example, in here, there you go. You actually have all the trophy. It's basically your trophy room.
It is displayed here.
Or when you collect all the Funko Pops.
And yes, Ratchet, we did make a trophy fashioned after you for some reason.
Why was it on Florana?
Well, you see, we kind of dropped it while it was being made.
Yeah, you see, what happened was, we got them made. The problem is, we were transporting them to to where we were going to keep them for safekeeping, but some idiot accidentally put them in the escape pod. And that was accidentally triggered, and then the escape pod exploded. It's a good job those trophies were indestructible, and they ended up scattered all over the galaxy.
Alright, let's see if there's a new armor available already. Yes, but it costs too much. The Magna Plate armor, which is still grey, but with a tinge of blue. But again,
you've gotta love this.
I'll not get it immediately. Go on.
You gotta love this. Even though we're helping these guys save the galaxy, they're still charging us for gear.
However,
that's just video game logic in
this
general.
case, this is also where the save, the previous save come into play. If you have a save file for both Ratchet and Clank 1 and Ratchet and Clank 2, you will get, in this case, a discount on some gadgets from weapons. It won't be that much. It's a 10% discount, but it's very welcome. I will explain, I think it's in the next, it's one of the next parts, what the save file for Ratchet and Clank 2, entails. But yeah, as you can see, some weapons like the suck cannon also return. Again, I don't particularly care, but sure. You can also see the skins that you can acquire here. Again, I'll showcase a bit more towards the end, but as you can see, the ones from Ratchet Clank 1 and 2 return, but there are a couple of new ones, like some robotic ones, particular robotic ones, a sumo Ratchet, and a ninja costume. Don't ask me how. Again, you can unlock them, if I recall correctly, with the special golds we acquire.
These are your quarters. I set up the VG-9000 to play vid comic discs.
Alright, Let's put literally Qwark in a cage.
For rehabilitation.
Oh, banana.
Yeah.
He
Lovely.
ate it with the skin on and
How do
everything.
you think you got
Jesus.
like this? Well, the life of an intergalactic superhero can be very stressful. Anyway, you're telling me this nutcase is our only hope for stopping Nefarious? We're hosed.
Yeah, I kinda have to agree with Ratchet. So, again, wanna know what the joke is with the VG9000 for now? It's so cool and everything in the system, but right now it doesn't have any games.
Yep, you need a vid comic to play.
The irony with the PS5 jokes is kinda not lost, but thankfully we'll be able to actually supply the deficiency, so don't worry about that.
A collectible among many others. But yeah, like, I do really dig the way that they integrate pretty much, you know, your main hub into this whole ship. Which, to be fair, this is a bit of a change, because previously, your main hubs were strictly menu-based. Here, for the first time now, the hub is in and of itself its own base.
We're losing the signal. Try
here we
boosting
go.
the power.
Isn't that the president?
They came out of nowhere! Thyrannoid invasion force!
First, the Thyrannoids have invaded
Presidential
Marcadia.
compound has been breached! Cannot hold out much longer here.
Mr. President! Dad! Are you there?
Dad?
And now it's time to finally meet Dr. Nefarious and his very British butler, Lawrence.
The hour of your liberation is at hand!
I think the Nefarious voice actor is Armin Shimmerman. It's not super immediately clear just from this cutscene alone, but trust me, the way Armin Shimmerman acts for Nefarious is such a delight.
Yes.
Also, no, that's, in case you were wondering, that's not actually a child, that's just a pantomime.
Iron-fisted rule. And as for you filthy organic life forms, you can look forward to being
Nefarious motivation,
disintegrated.
genocide. Because, you know, he thinks that robotic life forms should actually rule the universe. Lovely.
Well,
Plot a
he's
course for
straightforward
Marcadia.
and to the
Maximum
point.
speed. Prepare the dropship for planetary assault. We're going in.
We'll see you on Marcadia.
That's what we need to go, yeah. Okay, I guess I might explain it now. Again, it's not for you know, those like games who just have just the introductory, you know, dialogue for Nefarious. It might not catch up. But again, like I said, you have to assume that most of his dialogue, it's kind of like the Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog, Dr. Robotnik. Very loud, no indoor voice, super over the top. You're gonna call me crazy, and don't believe me. What if I told you that the guy that they got to voice him in my country, it's even more over the top?
I'm curious on what
On the verge
maneuver
of
he
being
went for.
extremely angry, sounding extremely angry all the time.
Does he manage to do it in a way that it works, or is it
Yes,
legit annoying there?
Because again, the voice timbre is basically almost identical, you know, and the guy manages to have range because he did also voice Chairman Drac in the first game, so it's a bit of recycling. But because the range is that kind of different, it manages to work out very well.
That's good.
More on Lawrence actually when we get the first more introductory cutscene, because we haven't got the full context on him yet. For the time being, we have to reach Marcadia.
I do wonder if part of the idea was that the team behind Ratchet and Clank wanted to go more to like an absolute galaxy is in major trouble vibe, which
Again,
not to say you
Halo,
didn't have.
Halo was popular at the time, so because of that, the more military aspect of shooters, by quoting CV11, is back and combat evolved. So of course we have to go there.
You know what? You're right, actually. This does feel like a more cartoony Halo in a sense.
It's also worth noting because the game that in summary that right after this, the Gladiator/Deadlocked, even more resembled that, even if it originally was not supposed to be something different. It's a bit complicated, I will explain more when we get to it, but to give a little story short, apparently Insomniac wanted to focus on a car combat game, but then they learned, oh shit, Naughty Dog is actually doing Jack X, which is a car combat, racing game. So we might as well do something different, to avoid the redundancy. And that's how we got that game. But you'll be able to see after this one.
The irony, but yeah, no, like, say what you will about Microsoft nowadays, but man, when Halo came out, like, Halo made it clear why Halo was going to be the mascot series for Microsoft.
Well, it was more of also the combination of things like the streamlining and making cool to have a shooter that was on consoles, because up until that point, it was mostly seen as, the PC type of genre with Doom and Wolfenstein, particularly also for multiplayer purposes. It's also worth noting that it was kind of also around the same time Half-Life, Half-Life came around, and that one basically was in itself kind of a murderer of the first-person shooter by introducing, the concept of very elaborate single-player set piece that, a lot of developers took the wrong lessons from. So the more classic, fast-paced, action was kind of, pulled back and was more present in Doom. So it was a combination of slight power vacuum on one part, an introduction of the supply and the demand onto the other. So, the advantage that Halo and subsequently Gears had was that, a lot of people wanted that kind of game, and they were only going to get mostly just on the Xbox rather than PC.
I'll give Ratchet and Clank credit, even though they clearly got caught into the Halo hype, at least they still kept the weapon wheel. Now granted, I get why Halo was revolutionary for making it so that you only had a limited amount of weapons, since at the time, the weapon wheel was a lot more cumbersome to work with in games, essentially.
Not to mention balance for multiplayer, that was the primary thing.
That too. That said, I would say that by the time of, the mid-2000s, the weapon wheel was okay to have, at the very least on single-player campaigns, essentially. I get limiting it for, the multiplayer, but, a lot of games just thought, they had to have limited to only 2 weapons or they die.
It also did not help that it was also around the time about the rise of, more down-to-earth military shooters, mostly Medal of Honor, and Call of Duty, of course, which meant also a more strict, down-to-earth arsenal. It changes, things got changed slightly, of course, with Modern Warfare, which tried to move the setting up more into the future, so try to have slight more sci-fi elements to that, But of course, it was not, 100% still, detached to that. But anyway.
They're attacking the compound from the other side. We could sure use your help.
You got it.
Like I said in the first part, not in all of planets, but in a lot of them actually, you will get, because it's a war scenario, you will get a bunch of these missions, side missions that once you get to the end of it, you have to perform a set of tasks that represents the war effort against the Thyrannoids, Again, these ranges, from just, perfectly fine to mildly annoying. I will still showcase all of them, and if I recall correctly, for this first set, I will show them in their entirety. But for later planets, I will start speeding things up. Not cut away entirely, but, moving along, because otherwise they don't contain, all the plot relevance, and otherwise we'll be swamped here for a long time.
Interestingly enough, whereas the first Ratchet and Clank game did have the galaxy as, in major danger, but had that be ironically sort of, countered with the humor of the situation that Drek was essentially just doing a big Ponzi land scheme, a land development Lex Luthor scheme with it. I do find it interesting how this one goes for just more traditional. Nah, this guy just wants us dead. Like, no profit or nothing. Nefarious is just bug nuts crazy.
Okay, he has a more elaborate plan of, you know, to perform, you know, his scheme rather than just, you know, complete and utter annihilation. And also, it does make you wonder why the Thyrannoids, you know, why he's employing an organic species like the Thyrannoids for his deeds. But again, it will all be clear in a later part. It's just
Given
that, you know,
what we
we're
find
just at
out,
the surface for now.
Given what we find out later, I'm guessing he's employing the Thyrannoids because he's not ready for his endgame scheme yet, though. That does make you wonder why he doesn't wait, but then again, it's Nefarious.
Well,
so...
again, you don't have the entire context, the audience again, you don't have the entire context from that introduction video alone, because, you know, as a character and as a villain, Nefarious is quite something. There's a reason why he became that kind of popular, but again, it's not never as obvious, you know, as it may appear.
Like I said, he became so popular that, well, okay, saying it might spoil, but let's just say he was so popular that everyone wanted to use him in some way, shape, or form.
There we go. Again, most of your rewards for the missions are vaults, of course, so they're just an alternative to also the arena that do return. The one thing that you get is occasionally, you know, decent enough comedy banter between the Galactic Rangers with their jokes. If you noticed from the very beginning of the game that they're not particularly good at their jobs. Sure, they are capable of shooting, you know, everyone in the target, but they tend to be a bit coward. This will basically have its own particular arc as the game goes on.
Alright.
Also, another thing that you might have noticed from the gameplay is that the whip does leave flaming afterburn damage to the enemies. It's a bit like poison, which also worth mentioning that some modifications similar to the second games do return, not in the same full capacity. Some weapons just, you know, come equipped with that. I can imagine the reason why they did that is because the modification in the second game, I think we not talk much about, were ideal enough from the beginning and the mid-game, but by the late game, and especially in challenge mode, they were kind of worthless because they were not, you know, dealing that much extra damage as, you know, one player would have wanted. So they felt a bit pointless and redundant as in the long run, unfortunately. But again, it's another thing that got improved anyway. Also, if you noticed, you have a radar for these missions, so you get an idea where the enemy position is in relation to you if you don't see it on screen, because you might be ambushed. And thankfully you don't have friendly fire, so don't worry, shoot away, you know, you won't damage the other Galactic Rangers, but you can destroy the cover, potentially, so you have to watch out on that. Also, once he's back, the turret section, so go with that too. Some of these will double as an escort mission occasionally, but again, they're not really as frustrating. Like I said, a lot of times it's just, you know, simple combat, so that's why later on you will not see, you know, these in their complete, you know, entirety. But rest assured, it's just a matter of a couple of missions where you have to just destroy the Thyrannoids in a specific manner. You will get also a couple of vehicles along the way, you'll be able to see. Again, it's the classic type of, you know, culmination of a trilogy where, you know, a couple also new ideas are put into that, which is kind of ironic because now that again, as I mentioned towards the final thoughts of that, Resistance 3 really did not felt like that. You know, with the weapon wheel and a couple of the new weapons, yes, there's a couple of new weapons, yes, but it still did lack the, you know, vehicle sections. A couple of the bigger enemies like the Goliath were made invincible and you'll not be able to, you know, put a dent in them for plot reasons. The entire final dungeon gets skipped and you have to rely on something else as a result. Again, maybe someone wanted to put a subversion of that, I don't know, but it really did felt a case about, you know, when the first title only marginally, felt like a combination of things. And I mean gameplay-wise overall. Plot-wise, yes, okay, I can make an argument that yes, you know, it's still big to an extent. There you go.
Thank you. Are we still going? No.
Now this is actually timed. You have to wait until the Galactic Rangers actually repair the turret, so resist for 2 minutes. Again, these ones tends to be fairly simple because, yes, the enemy is swarming and anything, but with the arsenal that we have and the mobility, it's not really a problem. And since we're still in an early stage in the game, the weapon, the damage that is given to your nanotech with your current armor is not particularly high. So.
Fire!
No, don't worry, William, so there's no Konami laser scope attachment for this.
I don't think the PS2 even had a gun accessory.
Okay, for the okay, not on the level of the Konami laser scope, but gun, yes. Remember, Time Crisis was popular, so Namco really loved the gun peripheral, even for the PS2 era.
Okay.
But again, it was very specific, only for a couple of
games.
So.
Wasn't that only just for that game?
I'm pretty sure that it had. Okay, did they add a point blank game equivalent on the PS2? I thought not. But the point is that it was still very specific, rather than being used as much as one would want.
I'm guessing it used the iToy.
Yeah, there's Kadikaro's video showcase.
The PSI toy. I think I had that accessory actually.
I did.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
Joe was just talking about the iToy, and Joe mentioned he had it, and basically, as I said, I had it too. I played a few of the games made for it, but I also played a couple of ones that used it as an accessory.
Have you played? I know you didn't play it, but just for fun. Have you played the Japanese exclusive, one of the Japanese exclusive one that Kadikaru review about? I forgot the name. The Zorro Fox anime, where one of the mini games is that you have to guide pig's fart to distance yourself from the policeman.
What?
No, I haven't. Nor have I played that one where you have to guide someone through a maze while holding your hand out, holding your arm out in the air in a rather peculiar position.
Yeah.
I love the fact that Bob the Builder and Thomas the Tank Engine were some of the few IPs to actually collab with this peripheral. It's quite something. I think the Polar Express also did something with the PSI toy as well.
No, it doesn't seem to be because, again, it is a marathon to have with all of the games that were compatible with the iToy, specifically from the ground up. So if the Polar Express video game did have some compatibility with that, might have been for minor, mini games that were not, the big focus of it.
Right. It's listed as enhanced by, and
it's kind of like the same of the Brave video game having Kinect compatibility with the 360 version. And
so,
I guess PS Move
yes.
Compatibility with the PlayStation version.
So the PS2 version contains iToy support. I'm curious as to what that actually pertains to, because I don't recall any specific...
Oh, here we go. Listen to this.
You're even more impressive in person than you are on the holovid. And I must say, I've never seen a chauffeur
I
fight
definitely
like you
see
do.
the
So
Clintonism
who says you can't find good help these days, right, Clank? Sasha's told me a lot about you. Don't get any ideas, kid. She is way out of your league.
Hey.
Sasha filled me in on the Qwark situation. I'm told the man thinks he's a monkey?
He has lost his memory, sir.
Well, then you'll simply have to find it for him. We need our star player back in the game ASAP. Is that understood?
Yes, sir.
My daughter tells me you're a man who's good with his hands, Ratchet.
I swear I
His laser shield went down during the attack. And we are
goodness.
defenseless
You
without
could
it.
say that.
Sent out a repairman to fix it, but
Yeah,
he
the
disappeared.
president is
I need you to get
kind
that
of an
shield system
idiot.
back online.
Yes, sir.
He doesn't
We're on it.
Shut up.
Not just that, Dweebs. Again, it's the fact that he seemed to be very adamant with Qwark is our last hope for stopping Nefarious. Even all circumstances will tell us this is a very bad idea.
You'd think if anything they would consider, guys, we have the galaxy famous heroes Ratchet and Clank. Maybe just have them deal with Nefarious?
Harry, these are one of our new gadgets for this. It's a simple light reflector, which will work for Zelda-style laser puzzles. Obviously, as you can see, you cannot use it as a weapon in the conventional sense. Reflecting a laser towards an enemy can damage them, but you might as well just whip out one of your weapons at that point. Also, if you notice by the dialogue, the president seems to take in consideration more Clank just because he's a movie star. Remember that thing that Jova mentioned in the first part? You know, the satire about sensationalism on TV? This is kind of reflected to that, where, you know, the president believes Clank is the true hero and Ratchet is kind of a moron. Instead.
The irony, yeah. You know, now that I'm more aware he's supposed to be a parody of Bill Clinton, I guess we can say we're gaming in the Clinton years.
Oh god.
Yes.
Oh god.
So,
If that show had lasted to cover these games.
Now remember, originally it was just called Flights of Fancy. George Wood did not really have any intention to call it that way. It was the Navigator channel that decided to do it. Also, yes.
Yeah, and this thing was more comic books, not video games.
And yes, as you can see, the reflector literally stops a beam, you know, mid-air and redirects it, you know, via that, even without needing the machine. Don't ask me how it works. It just does.
I mean,
has science gone too far?
I mean, if this game were reviewed by George Wood, he'd probably make some weird observation by saying, "How about the next Ratchet and Clank game? Have Clank get robot cancer or something?"
Yeah, something
I suppose to be fair to George Wood, the whole gaming in the Clinton years thing is a case where someone had to come up with a name for that series retroactively, and well, he was gaming in the Clinton years.
I mean,
it's one of those cases where it's a mundane name and it came from just we couldn't think of anything else, but ironically, that helped it be all the more iconic.
I mean, I'm not sure what quote of his is worse. The create a storyline in which Lara gets breast cancer in Tomb Raider 3, or the one where it's like, why would you want to spend money beating up people in the game when you can do it for free on a real life human being?
I legit wonder if that guy was just trying to do that times equivalent of a YouTube poop before it was a thing.
Or like the idea of wanting to be funny for a review show. As noted, for some review shows that were on TV, not just on YouTube but on TV, like for example, the one that a lot of people talked about that recently, the one that spent a lot of time lambasting Japanese games for no adequate reason, and oh, it's foreign, it's very stupid. Sorry, Linda?
Explain.
I think that's that. And, as noted by H1 guys, the one that involved Tommy Tallarico, unfortunately, with having weird scores to stuff like Smash Bros. Melee for no particular reason.
Yeah.
That was weird. Anyway, with this kind of case, you need to guide the spider bot using the laser to the corresponding symbol. There you go. So in this case, it's more of a case of attracting. There you go. And then, yeah, I need to properly position it there. There you go. Also, you may also notice between the static from the transmissions and some of his lasers, YouTube really doesn't like this kind of, light compression. Go on, Dweebs.
I mean, that was one of those rare cases where I can agree with you. Actually, I really like it either. Gaming in the Clinton years was a good way to cheer yourself up if you had a bit of a poor day, whatever it is you're doing. Just watch just watch some crazy riffing video games like all about the Silicon Graphics computers.
Of course.
And also reviews that aren't really reviews so much as cheat code information videos.
Like, it really feels like the guy could have made a killing as just a YouTube parody guy, or like somebody who's like, gaming in the Clinton years feels like a fake review show, if you catch my drift.
Like I said, considering it felt like it was kind of a bit of a fad at the time over those couple of years, the in thing to do. I'm not particularly too surprised. Also, you may notice it's Al behind that laser tag barrier. So we have some returning characters from the first game.
The shields up yet?
Silence! I am concentrating.
What the? That's a Qwark vid comic.
Excuse me. It is a historically accurate interactive graphic novel.
What do you call
How
it?
can you use the city's defense network to play a video game?
Simple. I bypassed the security server with a 626 hex matrix adapter and reprogrammed the graphics
Using multimodal
subprocessor.
refraction.
No, I mean, it's... Clank.
Positronic refraction.
Nerds, am I right? They know nobody's
Conduction
cool.
coils of your DB3 signal processor.
Impossible! I ran a recursive checksum on the signal matrix. Hey, there is a feedback loop. I don't know where that
Guys are wondering, we will get eventually an acting minigame for these two, but now it's not the time. But we got
Perhaps this will help restore Qwark's memory.
So I am happy to report that already from now the VG9000 does have indeed games.
And you gotta love it.
You're a video comic.
You gotta love it though. A video game will be what helps restore Qwark's memory. You see, kids, video games are actually good for your brains. Despite what a lot of people were saying at the time, where, oh god, was that when we had that stupid rumor that TV rots your brains?
Jova, that's just old man culture in general. Remember when Elvis Presley back in the 50s was going to destroy the youth?
Then it was rock and roll, then it was the Dungeons and Dragons, and then it was video games.
There's always some kind of big evil force in the entertainment industry trying to destroy the world.
Do you think Tom Hanks looks back at that D&D movie he was in
monster?
with
I'm pretty sure he doesn't. Either he doesn't even remember, or he was only there for a paycheck.
Probably.
Remember, Dweebs' country had the brilliant idea of saying that Kubrick's Clockwork Orange movie was quote-unquote the cause of violence among teenagers. Because as we all know, British teenagers were never violent before Clockwork Orange came around.
Again, watch Pink Floyd's The Wall. That's a good indication of what was going on in those decades. Alright, let's see if I can allow myself to get the Magna Plate armor. So, let's get it.
Like, if I can at least give the whole TV or video games rotting thing is like, at least with there was the advent of technology. Like, you know how people will act when some new technology was coming up, but trying to claim that Clockwork was the cause of all violence as if, there wasn't violence before that movie. Come on.
Remember, there was actually a critic. I know this because remember
I need to explain this. The Infector works. It doesn't. I'm not sure what you're thinking. Oh, does it work the same way it did in Resistance 3? No. It does still infect a target with an actual virus, that it gets spread via the target, but it's not. It doesn't work as like a mutator actually. we're about to insert the holovid.
Watch and learn, Clank. This is how a real hero gets it done.
Alright, so here's how it works. First, this horrible loading screen. Second, we will get a 2D sequence with an illustration that tells about the introduction and then the proper video game.
The galaxy has ever known.
Hey, somebody invited the artist from Earthworm Jim, I see.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah.
With the aid of eyewitness accounts, bathroom gossip, wild speculation, and a magic.
Specifically the cover artist.
In the early days of the
because cover artists back in those days were different people than the developers.
Oh, also these for some hindsight.
Yeah, like I mentioned, I get the feeling somebody was really a fan of Treasure Planet on this game.
Not just this.
Was already
wait until what the narrator says.
With a stick.
However, no previous adventure could have prepared Qwark for his encounter with the dread pirate Blackstar and his crew of... Oh, please tell me this is a typo.
That's robotic pirate ghosts. Guess reading wasn't your subject, eh, Professor?
Right. Now we begin the interactive...
Yeah, apparently...
Hear the narrator dying inside.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll never encounter robotic pirate ghost in this franchise. Anyway, the actual gameplay is a 2D side-scroller, complete with bleepy bloopy soundtrack. I'm sure the composer actually had kind of a field day with this. And relatively simple control. Jump with X, square is for punching, and eventually we'll get firearms. Complete with Qwark telling you a couple of stuff that you can do, like collecting the tokens.
Bling, bling, baby! The red ones are worth 10 Qwark tokens.
But no, remember there was even a critic at the time, Jova, and you can see this in the Qwark Laughing Pictures documentary. It's on YouTube. There was even a critic who literally said, and I'm not kidding, that Qwark should have been physically beaten up for even making the movie. Just to give you an idea of how much of a shit show it was.
So I am so outraged by violence that I'm going to encourage more violence.
That's
brilliant. That's fucking brilliant.
That's Thatcherism for you.
Like, so, could you imagine a movie critic in today's day and age saying something like that?
Oh god, they'd be tarred and feathered. But hey, speaking of crazy stuff, I think out of the crazy theories people had in the 2000s, or I guess not quite the 2000s yet, but you get the idea, I think Y2K still has to take the cake. Like, that apparently had people worldwide panicking that all technology would go out of stock, and I tell you, to this day, it's still being made fun of. Like, that's how widespread Y2K was, well, the idea of it.
I can't remember.
Oh my god. I was going to say a couple of things. One, it would be interesting if there were actually legit any movies that were actually that dangerous and caused all that stuff, but I've never heard of anything like that. And two, I've noticed a 2D game on PS2. That was a bit, from what I remember, that's not exactly wasn't exactly very common. And were there any sprite-based 2D games on the PS2?
Odin Sphere technically counts, I guess, but that's Vanillaware. It's been their bread and butter since the beginning. I'm sure there were a couple of more, but as what you were hinting at the very least, yes, they were still very rare by this point.
The PS2 definitely wanted to focus mostly on them 3D models.
Yeah, because I don't remember there being any polygon. Okay, there were some poly-based 2D games on the PS1, for example, but the more famous ones are the 2D ones. Sorry, the ones with 2D sprites.
Mm-hmm.
Like Symphony of the Night and to a lesser extent Mega Man.
Yeah. Can you check in the meantime, Dweebs, if the composer is once again David Bergeron on his own, or did he still had help for this?
Let me have a look. I know David Bergeron is in this game, but as for Niels...
Also, there you go. Once you get all 100 tokens, you get a titanium bolt.
Congratulations, Qwark fans. Your boy is finally playable with this game.
Yeah, in terms of Ratchet and Clank, in terms of Ratchet and Clank games Niels did, he did Going Commando, Up Your Arsenal. He'll go on to assist on Tools of Destruction, Secret Agent Clank, and then Ratchet and Clank Future Quest for Booty, before he moved on to stuff like PlayStation Move Hero.
Yeah.
Medieval Moves Dead Man's Quest, Sports Champions 2, apparently, and the recent Hitman trilogy.
Anyway, so again, weirdly enough, your boss of this first holocomic is not even the pirate captain, you know, of the Good of Ghost Pirate, but this weird eel creature.
Is now dead.
Yes.
Well done.
And also, be prepared for have your ears being blown off. Jesus Christ.
I've heard worse.
I mean, the Sonic Genesis thing that happens when that plays is
and now the conclusion of
I mean,
the
I've
first
worked in
holiday.
some real junk, but this one takes the cake. Pirate, ghost, robots. What do they think? We're idiots?
Hey, Professor, snap to it.
Once
We're
again,
on.
the citizens of the Solana Galaxy owed their lives to the dauntless courage of the remarkable man behind the Q. With great reluctance, Qwark accepted a meager fee for his services and promptly donated the entire sum to the Qwark for Tots Scholarship Fund, a charity providing makeovers and buxom bimbos for needy people named Qwark.
I've got a big heart.
How generous.
Yes, I got the fruit basket, thanks. It turns out I'm
I'd
allergic
just be
to
glad
fruits.
that this is not supposed to be a deconstructive, you know, story like The Boys.
Yes, sir, I'm on my way.
The exciting, all-true, right, adventures of Captain Qwark.
So yeah, you'll have to
continue
stay
in
tuned for episode 2, which we will see very soon, actually. For the time being, this is what apparently finally jogs Qwark's memory. No kidding. I still don't think we properly learned how he got in Florana from being experimented on the Crocetizer and Megacorp. So I don't remember if it's ever got explained officially, but the point is that now he's back again.
It appears Qwark has regained his memory.
Hey, this dressing room isn't fit for a pig. What kind of shoddy production are you people running?
That's him, all right.
He may need a while to adjust. In the meantime, I've got a mission that's perfect for you two. We've just learned of a prototype holographic device that can disguise the user as a Thyrannoid,
there's another
even
holo
allowing
guys
him
in
to
this
speak
game, specifically
Thyrannoids.
for the Thyrannoids,
Is it just
which
me,
will
or do
help
you smell
for
bananas?
infiltration
Anyway,
purposes. But we will need to
the
win
device
it.
happens to be the grand prize on this week's
So you know what that means?
Annihilation Nation.
More American Gladiator parodies.
Tonight on Annihilation Nation, we feature an all-new Death Course. Let's meet tonight's victim. Oops, I mean contestant, Fred. Fred is a Gadgetron accountant who claims he once had a
Yay, Fred.
go up in his pants.
Oh
What a
my.
shame. Let's take a look at what he's up against. Doesn't look too bad.
The
now,
obstacle
does it?
course of death.
Good luck, Fred.
Fred's got this.
Oh,
No, he
I don't
doesn't.
have any trade. Come on, Fred, you can.
Well,
Another day,
see, Fred
another
did
death
not
course.
believe in himself well enough, and that's why he failed.
I mean,
Let his failure be a lesson to
to be,
you.
I mean, to be fair, he was robbed. I mean, he couldn't even start the court about something that wasn't even advertised, striking him from above.
I also love the touches of Ratchet is missing because he's just used to this shit, and Sasha being baffled at that. Alright, tuning for the next part where we go obtaining the holo guys from the dev course in question. See ya.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.